Hello everybody and welcome back to the second shelf and to another tag video. Yes, Tag Wednesday. Because I load up, yeah. I film and upload, load up on Wednesday. So Tag Tuesday is always a Wednesday for me. But anyway, and this time I was actually tagged, not like last time that I did a tag that I wasn't even tagged in. And this is the reading taste tag, originally created by Sophia from Sophia Thoughts quite some time ago in 2019. And I was tagged last week, so not even that long ago, by Steve over at Steve Donahue. And of course, I will leave links to both channels down below. So this is a tag all about your reading taste. And I thought that's fun. You're probably very interested in my reading taste, aren't you? The questions, as always, on the computer. You know me. Question number 1. What is your favorite genre? I don't know. I read mainly what they call general fiction or literary fiction and nonfiction. I would say within nonfiction, probably my favorite genre is memoirs. And within fiction, I just love a good story. So I love mysteries. If you're talking genre fiction, I love sci-fi. Yeah, but for me, it's like if it's a good story, I don't really care what genre it is or what people would say that it qualifies as something in a genre. There are a couple of genres that I don't read that much. Romance, for instance, I'm just not that into romance. But if it's a good story and people call it a romance, hey, why not? Question number 2, what is the most difficult genre for you to read? And I would say horror, because it bores me. Yeah, I know, that's weird. I'm really the person who is scared a lot when they watch horror movies. I have to leave the light on at night and look under the bed before I go to sleep, even with the light on when I watch a horror movie. So it's not, I'm scared easily when I watch something. But with books, it's different. I think I'm just probably not capable of visualizing it that much. Maybe, but I tried horror, Stephen King, for instance, and it doesn't scare me, and then mostly it bores me, because if you're not scared with a horror book, but there's often not much else in it. So I would say horror is the most difficult genre for me, because I just don't get it. Yeah, maybe you can recommend something to me and see whether it scares me. Number 3, what is your preferred age range? I don't have one. I have one that I don't like. So it's more the negative, and that is child narrators. That almost always doesn't work for me. And that is because I feel that at least the books that I read where you had a child narrator, it never sounds like a child to me, especially when they are, like 5 years old or 6 years old, and they talk like adults and they think like adults. That doesn't work for me. So other than that, I don't really care in books. I mean, I have a preferred age range when it comes to men, but that's a different topic now, isn't it? Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Are you a character-driven or a plot-driven reader? Well, you know me. I'm definitely a plot-driven reader. That doesn't mean that I don't care for a good character. If it's a fantastic plot, but the character is flat and cliched and cardboard, I would still not consider it a good book. But the first thing I'm interested in, like I said earlier, is a good story. And for a good story, you need a good plot, an arc, a storyline. And when I look at that thing that is the book, and I turn it around and I feel that it doesn't work because there are plot holes or inconsistencies or coincidences that are just not believable, that's not for me. So I really need a good story. And of course, there are exceptions. There are books that I love, Try to make a whole sentence and not swallow words in between. That would be a good idea for a video now, wouldn't it? So there are definitely books that I love. And then when you look at it, you say, well, there's not much of a plot. And that's true. So there are always exceptions. But I think when I pick up a book in a bookstore and I look at the blurb, the first thing that has to grab my attention is the story that is told. And then everything else, comes sort of second, I guess. Number 5, do you have a preferred perspective? I don't think so. I struggle with books told in the second person. So a book that is told in you did that and you did that, because I think that's a very difficult perspective to pull off. But again, there are books that do that really well. I think maybe the first person is probably not my preferred perspective. Even though, there are books that I love that are told in the first person. So if you put a gun to my head and I had to choose one, then it's probably the third person perspective, but not omnipresent, whatever, something with omni. So these typical books that you have, like Jane Austen, that's too much, too broad. So the narrator knows too much. I really like it if I'm in the head of one person. But told in the third person perspective. I'm giving a lecture here about perspectives. I don't know. But again, I feel that I would never not pick up a book because it's told in first person or second person. So it's not something that I would say I limit myself to a certain perspective. But the third person is probably my preferred perspective. And the next question, number 6, is about the preferred tense. And I have something in my eye, and you have to just bear with me here. Past tense is, Brian from Bookish, he made the observation when he did the tag about, the future is difficult, future tense. I don't know. There is probably a book told in the future tense, but I can't think of any. I like present tense sometimes because depending on the story, it can really have this sense of urgency. If you tell a story in the present tense, as a reader, you are in it with the person, the protagonist experiencing something. So that can work very well, I think. But I guess also most books are told in the past tense, and that's my go-to tense, I would say. If you held up a gun to my head, I would probably say past tense. Let's see here. Number 7. Do you like series or standalone books best? That's probably a trick question. Just included for me, because if you follow my channel, you know I'm not good at series. There are some series that I read entirely, like the N.K. Jemisin Broken Earth series. It's 3 books, but I'm intimidated when you look at Robin Hobb, for instance, and it's like 18 books in a series. I don't commit to that. So if it's a series, it needs to be that each book can be read by itself, which is mostly in series not the case. And then I will read the first book and don't follow up and reading the other books in the series. So standalone books is definitely my preference. Um, yeah, I'm just not good with series. Sorry. Um, then number 8, which would you rather read, long or short books? Um, I don't think I have a preference here. Again, it really, for me, it depends on the story. Um, I'm not afraid of big books, like, oh my God, this book has over 500 pages. I will never be able to finish it. Not at all. But sometimes with longer books, it really irks me when I feel there are page fillers in it. So that the story didn't need that many pages. And I don't obviously have that with shorter books. I recently made a video, recent reads, and I talked about a sci-fi book by Connie Willis called Blackout, which is almost 500 pages, and it's not even a whole book. It's the first part of a two-part novel. And with that book, I mean, I was angered by the fact that it wasn't announced on the cover that it was only the first part of a two-part book. But that aside, I felt that the 500 pages, 200 of those or 250 of those were superfluous. And that is something that I sometimes have with longer books, that they just don't warrant the length. It's just filling pages, and I don't like that. I like it when it's concise, but sometimes a story, even if it is concise, needs 400, 500, 600 pages, and then it's okay. So there is no, to answer the question, there is no preference really. Number 9, which format do you like best? Again, I'm going to tell you what I don't like. I don't like hardcovers. I read them because if I want to read a new release, it's often a hardcover, but I don't like the feel of it, the hardcover. I just don't like it. I have the same, not really liking with mass market paperbacks because they don't open well, and then the font is too small for my comfort. So I like the mid range, these kind of floppy. I think they call it a trade paperback in the UK. When the book has a nice format, you can hold it, you can open it easily. The font is readable without needing magnifying glasses. That's a format I like. I read a lot of ebooks, especially nonfiction, but I wouldn't call ebooks my preferred format because I really like the tactile feel of a book in my hands. Audiobooks, same thing. I can't read audio books fiction. I just can't. It's not. I don't know why, but I just can't concentrate on the story when I have to listen to a voice that tells me a story. It's too slow for me. And when I speed it up, they get this Mickey Mouse voice, and I can't deal with that either. So I prefer print books, and within the print, these, trade paperback, floppy kind of things. That's my preferred format. Um, and what are you currently reading? I'm currently reading a non-fiction book. I talked about that in my last video on Sunday, and that's Hope Jaron, Lab Girl, a memoir about a scientist. Hope Jaron is a paleobiologist, so she studies plants, and this book, published a couple of years ago, is a combination of her life as a scientist, her development as a scientist, but it's also giving short snippets in the book about plants, how they live, how they grow, how they do the stuff that they do, and I'm loving it. I'm done. 10 questions, but I have to tag people, and I decided this time that I'm not going to do the cop out and tag everybody that hasn't done the tag and hasn't been tagged, but I tag 4 people whom I'm doing buddy reads with at the time, at the moment, and that is Heidi from My Reading Life. We're doing a buddy read together with Doris at the moment, but Doris has, from all the books, but Doris has already done the tag, so I can't tag her, so I tag Heidi. I'm also doing a buddy read with Sean the Book Maniac, so I tag you, Sean, Kathleen from Kathleen Ann, and Lukash from Totally Pretentious. 15 minutes, 15 and a half minutes. I'm very proud of myself. Anyway, that was the reading taste tag. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you're all still safe and healthy. Looking forward to your comments as always, and I'll see you all soon in the next one.